You see, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. Everybody wants the reward, but they don't want the struggle. But let me tell you something. Faith is not tested when things are easy. Faith is tested when you're walking through the storm and still believe there's light ahead. I've been through it. Rejection, confusion, doubt. And I'm still standing here because I never lost faith. When I had nothing, I had God. And that was enough to keep going. So if you're in the dark right now, hold on. Don't quit. That darkness might be where your breakthrough begins. You know, people always want the light. They want the celebration, the applause, the moment where it all makes sense. But what they don't want, what they run from, is the dark. They avoid the pain, the uncertainty, the silence when no one's calling back, when the world forgets your name. But let me tell you something. It's in that darkness where faith is born. Not the kind of faith that's easy to talk about on stage. Not the kind you write on a bump or sticker. I'm talking about real faith. The kind that's built when you're broke, when you're confused, when every sign says quit, and something in your soul says keep going. I've been there. I know what it feels like to walk into an audition room with your stomach empty and your heart full of hope. I know what it's like to hear no. So many times, you start wondering if you're crazy for still trying. I've faced seasons where everything seemed still, silent, like God had forgotten about me. But He didn't. He was building me in private. He was stripping away my ego, my fear, my dependency on validation. You see, faith isn't something you get when everything is going right. Faith is when you keep walking when the road disappears beneath you. Faith is when you trust that there's a plan, even when it looks like all the doors are locked. People ask me how I stayed grounded in this industry, how I didn't lose myself in the lights, the money, the fame. The truth is, the lights didn't make me, the darkness did. Those lonely nights, those moments of doubt, they forged my character. They made me lean on something greater than talent, greater than ambition. They made me lean on God. When I had no script, when I had no spotlight, I had Him, and He was enough. I remember thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this dream isn't for me. But even in those thoughts, I couldn't shake this quiet voice inside me. A whisper that said, keep going. You're not finished yet. That whisper is what faith sounds like. Not a shout, not a billboard in the sky. Just a whisper in your soul that says, hold on. You don't grow in comfort. You don't become strong when everything is handed to you. You become strong when you're tested. And believe me, I was tested over and over. But each time I got back up, each time I pushed forward, my faith grew stronger. I didn't realize it then, but those dark times, those were the training grounds. That was where I learned humility. That was where I learned how to pray, not just for things, but for peace, for wisdom, for strength to endure. Sometimes, God doesn't remove the struggle because the struggle is something in you that ease never could. The struggle is shaping you, molding you, breaking down the parts of you that can't go where you're destined to be. I look back now, and I thank God for every delay, every disappointment, because they weren't punishments. They were preparation. See, faith is not about ignoring reality. It's about standing in the middle of the storm and saying, I still believe. It's about showing up every day with excellence, even when no one's watching, even when the results don't come quick. It's about speaking life into your dream when everyone else has moved on. It's about trusting the process, even when you don't understand it. So if you're in that place right now, that dark, silent, scary place, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and you're not finished. That pain you feel, that confusion, that waiting, it's doing something. It's building your faith. Don't curse the darkness. Learn from it. Lean into it, because the light is coming. And when it does, you'll look back and realize that the darkness didn't defeat you. It defined you. And that, my friend, is where real faith begins. Rejection is something I know well. Not just the kind that stings in the moment, but the kind that lingers, that haunts you when you're alone, wondering if you're even good enough. I've stood in front of casting directors who didn't see me. I've prepared, prayed, walked in with confidence, and walked out feeling like nothing. But let me tell you something. That rejection, it wasn't the end of me. It wasn't even the beginning of the end. It was a redirection. It was life, or God, closing the wrong door so I could find the right one. You see, when I was younger, I didn't understand that. I thought every no meant I wasn't good enough, that I didn't have what it takes, that I was wasting my time. But over time, through all the setbacks, all the failures, all the disappointments, I began to see a pattern. Those moments that hurt the most, they were guiding me. Rejection was shaping me, humbling me, redirecting me towards something I couldn't even imagine yet. And I thank God for every door that closed, because every one of them pushed me further down the path I was truly meant to walk. There was a time early in my career where I auditioned for a role I believed was made for me. I gave it everything I had. I walked out of that room thinking I nailed it. Days went by, then weeks, then came the call. I didn't get it. Someone else did, and not just someone else. Someone who didn't even take the work as seriously as I did. That burned. That shook me. But what I didn't know at the time was that not getting that part freed me to take on another role, a role that would change the trajectory of my career, a role that wouldn't just be another job, but a statement, a calling card. That no was really a divine, wait, I have something better for you. That's the thing. When you're in the middle of the pain, when the rejection hits, it feels personal. It feels like the universe is against you, like the world is trying to break you down. But you've got to zoom out. You've got to see it for what it really is, a redirection, a lesson, a step forward disguised as a step back. Some of the best things that ever happened in my life started with someone telling me no. Some of the greatest doors I've walked through were only visible after others were slammed in my face. I'm telling you, if you're being rejected right now, if you're not getting the calls, not seeing results, not feeling heard, don't give up. You're not being denied. You're being rerouted. You've got to trust that what's meant for you won't pass you by. But here's the thing. It requires faith. It requires patience. And it requires work. I didn't just sit back after rejection. I went back to the grind. I got better. I kept showing up. Every time life said no, I got louder with my effort. Rejection taught me resilience. It taught me that success isn't just about talent. It's about perseverance, about showing up even when nobody's clapping for you. There's a difference between being delayed and being denied. Most people quit during the delay. They think the silence means the dream is dead. But if you really believe in your calling, you've got to outlast the silence. You've got to trust the process, even when it feels like the process is breaking you. I had to learn that rejection doesn't mean I'm not enough. It just means that particular opportunity wasn't aligned with my assignment. And you know what? Sometimes you're being protected. That role, that job, that relationship you wanted so badly, it might have taken you down a road you weren't built for. God sees the whole map. We only see the next step. So when rejection comes, I don't question it like I used to. I honor it. I ask, what am I being prepared for? Because now I know rejection isn't punishment. It's preparation. And if you can hold on to that truth, even in your lowest moments, you'll rise. Not just back to where you were, but beyond wherever thought you could go. When you go through pain, when life hits you harder than you ever expected, it's easy to ask, why me? I've been there. I've felt those moments when you're lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if everything you dreamed about is slipping away. I've walked into rooms where I didn't feel like I belonged. I've faced rejections, not just from people, but from life itself. But over time, I started to understand something that changed everything for me. The pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. That's a hard truth to swallow, especially when you're in the middle of it. But when you look back, you realize that every setback, every heartache, every disappointment was carving out the man or woman you were meant to become. That's not just something I heard. That's something I lived. When I was younger, I had dreams like everyone else. I wanted to make it, to be seen, to be respected. But I didn't know the cost of that dream. Nobody tells you that the path to your purpose is paved with pain. Nobody says that before you stand in the spotlight, you'll have to stand in the shadows, alone, afraid, uncertain. But that's where character is built. That's where you find your strength. You don't find it on the mountaintop. You find it in the valley when you've got nothing left but your belief. And for me, that belief was in something bigger than me. It was in God. It was in the idea that my life had meaning, even if I couldn't see it yet. I remember moments where I was ready to walk away. Times when I auditioned for roles and didn't get a call back. Times when people told me I wasn't what they were looking for, that I didn't have the look or the voice or the presence. And that hurts. It makes you question yourself. But looking back now, I can see that those closed doors weren't rejections. They were redirections. I wasn't being denied. I was being delayed because something better was waiting. And that delay was necessary. It taught me patience. It taught me humility. It taught me how to listen, how to serve, how to work when nobody's watching. It taught me that if I could keep my faith in the dark, I would be ready when the light came. See, your purpose isn't always revealed in comfort. It's revealed in struggle. And that struggle, that pain, it's not random. It's part of the assignment. Some of you are carrying burdens right now that you think are breaking you, but they're building you. You think you're being punished, but you're being positioned. You think God has forgotten you, but He's forming you. Every tear you've cried, every lonely night, every time you felt like giving up, it's not in vain. It's shaping you. It's refining your soul. That's how gold is made, through fire. I wouldn't be the man I am today if it weren't for the pain I went through. I wouldn't understand empathy. I wouldn't appreciate success. I wouldn't be able to speak to the heart of others if I hadn't first gone through heartbreak myself. My platform, my voice, my influence, it all comes from a place of having walked through the fire and survived. And because I survived, I can tell you with confidence, your pain is purpose. You might not see it now. You might not feel it now. But if you keep walking, if you keep believing, one day you'll look back and realize that the very thing that tried to break you is what built you. Don't run from your struggle. Don't curse it. Learn from it. Grow from it. Because on the other side of that pain is a strength you didn't know you had. On the other side is a purpose greater than you ever imagined. I'm not here because everything went right. I'm here because I didn't quit when everything went wrong. So whatever darkness you're facing, hold on. Keep your faith. Because that struggle isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your greatness. Don't just aspire to make a living. aspire to make a difference. That's something I've learned not just from the roles I've played, but from the life I've lived. Early on, when I was struggling, just trying to get by, I thought success was the goal. I thought if I could get the role, make the money, get my name out there, then I'd have made it. But life has a way of teaching you what really matters. When the cameras are off, when the applause fades, when you're alone with your thoughts, that's when purpose speaks louder than popularity. That's when you realize it was never about just having more. It was about being more intentional, more impactful, more faithful. I remember walking the streets of New York as a young man, broke, unsure of what my future held. I would pass by theaters and wonder if I'd ever see my name on one of those marquees. But even then, even in the struggle, I had this deep feeling inside that I was meant for something greater than just making money. There was something spiritual about it. I wasn't just chasing a dream, I was answering a calling. And that calling wasn't fame, it was about service, about using my voice, my story, my platform to reach people who needed to know that their pain had purpose too. You see, you can make a living doing almost anything. The world will pay you for your talents. It'll reward you for your skills, but fulfillment, real fulfillment, comes from living a life that means something. There were roles I turned down, opportunities I walked away from, not because they weren't lucrative, but because they didn't align with who I was or what I stood for. I made a decision. I wasn't going to just chase checks. I was going to chase legacy. That's a different kind of wealth. When you decide that your life should reflect your values, that your success should uplift others, that your voice should bring light, that's when your journey takes on meaning. People often ask me, what keeps you grounded? And my answer is simple: gratitude and responsibility. I know I've been blessed. I know I've been given opportunities many people never get. But I also know that I'm responsible for what I do with those blessings. Every young man who watches my films, every struggling soul who listens to my words, every person who's ever thought about giving up, I owe it to them to show up with purpose. I owe it to them to lead with integrity. Because at the end of the day, the most powerful legacy isn't built with awards or box office numbers. It's built with love, with faith, with sacrifice. I've learned that when you focus on making a difference, the rest takes care of itself. The world opens up to those who give more than they take. I've stood in rooms with powerful people. I've held trophies in my hands. But the moments that mean the most to me are the ones where someone says, "You helped me believe again," or "Your story gave me strength." That's what it's all about. That's the mission. If your light can help even one person find their way through the dark, then your life has meaning beyond measure. So don't just dream of the house, the car, the status. Dream of impact. Dream of changing lives. Dream of being the reason someone didn't give up. Aspire not just to climb the ladder. Aspire to lift someone else while you climb. Aspire to speak life, to build hope, to reflect the God who carried you through your own battles. That's how you honor the struggle. That's how you repay the blessings, not just by taking more, but by giving back. I've been on both sides. I've had nothing, and I had everything the world said I should want. But I'll tell you this, nothing compares to the peace of knowing your life has helped someone else. That's the real win. That's what I want to be remembered for. Not the movies, not the fame, but the difference I made. So keep going. Keep the faith. And when you get there, don't forget to reach back and pull someone else forward. That's how we change the world. One act of purpose at a time. I remember there were times when I couldn't see the road ahead, when the lights were off, when the phone wasn't ringing, when my name wasn't on the list. When you're in that space, that dark, uncertain, heavy place, you start to question everything. You question your path, your purpose, your faith. I've been there. And let me tell you something real in that place. What got me through wasn't talent. It wasn't charm. It wasn't luck. It was prayer. It was discipline. It was gratitude. Those were my weapons, my tools, my lifeline. See, prayer isn't just something I do when things are going well. It's not a performance. Prayer is the conversation I have when nobody else understands, when the weight gets too heavy to carry alone. I didn't always know what the outcome would be. Most of the time, I didn't. But I knew I had to trust something greater than me. I had to stay connected. And I'm not talking about some dramatic fire from heaven kind of thing. I'm talking about the quiet moments, the times when I got down on my knees and said, God, I don't know what's next, but I'm still here. Use me. I didn't always get an answer right away, but I got peace. I got direction. And sometimes that's all you need to keep walking. But prayer alone wasn't enough. You've got to move your feet after you pray. You've got to work. That's where discipline comes in. I've met people with more talent than me. I've seen people fall into success overnight. But what lasts, what endures, is built on discipline. Getting up early, studying your craft, saying no to distractions, practicing when no one's watching. When I was a young actor, nobody handed me anything. I had to audition and fail, audition and fail, audition again, and maybe get a small role. But every time I showed up, every time I gave everything I had, I was preparing myself. I wasn't working for applause. I wasn't working for fame. I was working out of faith, believing that if I stayed ready, when the moment came, I wouldn't have to get ready. And through it all, through the no's, through the confusion, through the waiting, I learned to be grateful. Gratitude changes everything. I could have focused on what I didn't have. I could have let bitterness grow, but I learned to thank God for the little things. I thanked Him for the lessons inside the losses, for the growth inside the pain, for the strength He was building in me every time He didn't give me what I asked for. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the greatest blessings, because God knew what I needed, not just what I wanted. Gratitude gave me perspective. It helped me see that no moment was wasted, that even in the silence, something was happening. I started to understand that the struggle was shaping me, that every closed door was building a kind of fire in me, a quiet determination that couldn't be taken away. That's something no man can give you and no man can take. That's born in the dark. So yes, I prayed. I stayed disciplined. I practiced gratitude every day. Even when I didn't feel like it. Especially when I didn't feel like it. Because that's when it matters most. When the weight is heavy, when you're tired, when you feel unseen, that's when you dig in. That's when you remind yourself of who you are and who you serve. I'm not standing here today because I figured it all out. I'm here because I held on. Because when I was broke, when I was confused, when I was doubting, I kept praying. I kept working. I kept thanking God anyway. And that, my friend, is how you keep your faith in the darkest times. Not by waiting for the light to return, but by becoming the kind of person who can stand in the dark and still believe.